Seatbelts save lives. This is a common saying when it comes to promoting seatbelts. Many states, including Kansas, have laws requiring drivers and passengers to wear seatbelts. These laws are intended to save lives. However, in some instances, they can do the opposite. According to the Governor's Highway Safety Association, in Kansas, the seatbelt laws state that children ages 14 to 17 must be buckled in any seat of the car, or a fine of $60 will be incurred. Adults 18 and over must buckle in the front seats, or a $10 fine is added. There are also some secondary laws to cover other seats for adults, as well as child seat laws for children of certain ages and weights. There are rules regarding when drivers may be cited and or fined for not wearing their seatbelts. These rules are as reported by a Safe Motorist. Unless there is another primary violation of law, drivers may not be stopped for a safety belt violation. Citations for violations may not be issued without citing for the violation that caused the stop. Drivers may be cited at a scene of an accident, absent of any other violation. Passengers must be cited separately from drivers. And according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, in 2009, 53% of people who died in car crashes were unrestrained. On the other hand, seatbelts are not infallible and do not prevent all deaths. The other 47% of those who died in 2009 were in fact wearing seatbelts. There are factors which may have led to the deaths, be it the impact itself, strangulation from the seatbelt, a broken neck or back from the restraint, or a malfunction of the belt from user or manufacturer faults. That said, many people have a semi-rational fear of being strapped into a vehicle and should have the choice of whether or not to wear the restraint if they are old enough and competent enough to make such a decision. Also, seeing as how seatbelt laws cannot be enforced unless another law is broken, it could be argued that the laws are in place simply to up the cost of a ticket for another violation. In conclusion, while statistics show that a slim majority of people are saved in car crashes by wearing seatbelts, and there is a definite merit to wearing one, people should have the free choice of whether they wear a restraint. They should not be slapped with an extra fine for deciding how best to keep themselves safe in a vehicle.
While it is true that wearing a seatbelt can save your life, it should be the driver's right to choose whether or not they do so. According to MIT Journal, wearing a seatbelt can reduce the risk of crash injuries by 50%. From 2004 to 2008, it is figured that seatbelts saved more than 75,000 lives in car accidents. 42% of passenger car crash deaths could be prevented by wearing a seatbelt statistically, and ejection from a vehicle in a crash is what can injure a person the most. Seatbelts prevent that from happening, and that's why we have those seatbelt laws. But again, wearing a seatbelt should be the driver's choice. Personally, I always wear my seatbelt when I'm driving, or at least most of the time I do. Sometimes I'll forget. And if I am driving with a child in the car, I always make sure that they are buckled safely in their seats and a passenger or in a car seat if necessary. But as a legal adult that has the right to drive and make my own decisions, it is my right to decide whether or not I should be wearing a seatbelt for myself. Laws are put in place to protect people protect individuals from being hurt by others. So wearing a seatbelt, the child seatbelt safety laws should be in place, but an adult has the right to choose for themselves to wear a seatbelt. And honestly, that's not the right use of making a law. Most of the time, the seatbelt laws are just used as an excuse to pull over vehicles that look suspicious, but officers wouldn't be able to pull them over otherwise. So they use the seatbelt law as ways to search their vehicles. And the current laws in Kansas is that an officer can pull over a car that looks like someone is not wearing a seatbelt, and if they can prove that someone in the vehicle is not wearing a seatbelt, they can fine you for up to $500, and that's according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. So anyway, I promote wearing a seatbelt just because I feel like it is in your best interest to wear a seatbelt for your safety, but it should be the driver's right to ultimately choose whether or not they do so.
There has been many controversy over the years regarding Kansas's click it or ticket law. According to the Wichita Liberty Journal, many Wichitans believe that it is a driver's decision whether or not they should be wearing a seatbelt while driving. Me personally, I agree with that opinion. I think that if we are mature adults and we are able to obtain a driver's license, we should be able to hold that decision as to whether or not we desire to want to wear seatbelts. In the matter of child restraints, I feel somewhat differently about that. According to the Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV.org, children up until the age of 1 year old are required to sit in rear-facing car seats. Ages 1 to 3 are required to sit in forward-facing car seats. Ages 4 to 7 are required to sit in booster seats unless they are over 80 pounds or taller than 4'9". In this situation, I do believe that we as parents or adults should enforce the child seat safety laws. We as parents, we are the protectors of our children, and so we should enforce that and make sure the kids are buckled up. But as adults, I believe that we own that right to make our own decisions. If a person chooses not to wear a seatbelt, that is a risk that they take on their own. If an accident were to happen, that is something that they would have to live with on their conscience. And research does show that wearing a seatbelt could help in an instance of a severe car accident where you are 30 times more likely to be ejected from a car if not wearing a seatbelt. But there also has been instances where wearing a seatbelt has caused severe and even mortally deaths associated with the car accident. In the event of a severe accident, drivers and passengers are 30 times more likely to be ejected from a vehicle if not wearing a seatbelt. Being ejected from a vehicle during a car crash could end up very fatal, but it also could end up beneficial to that person. If a person is in a severe car accident and they are ejected and they're able to land somewhere that's safe for them, that could keep them from ending up dead due to the severity of the car wreck. Also on the topic of the seatbelt law, I think that another thing that it goes hand in hand with is the fact that Kansas does not have an enforced helmet law for motorcyclists. And research shows that there are more individuals killed on motorcycles than more individuals killed in car accidents due to not wearing a seatbelt.
Hi everyone, my name is Đức. Today I will talk about why do we have to repeal the seatbelt law. We all know that wearing of the seatbelt has saved thousands of lives. It's a fact endlessly repeated, not only on the television and in the popular press, but in the scientific literature. In the book of John Adam, he believed that the seatbelt law should be repealed. He also gave many evidence for his idea. All evidence is not about the convenience or inconvenience. Many institutions mislead themselves and others about the benefit of the seatbelt law. All of them are not aware about the risk compensation. Many sources nowadays come from two main sources. The first one is the effect of the seatbelt in the crashes, not all of the accident. The second one is the effect of the legislation in Australia. It isn't the newest one. Scientists have mostly just cited from the other result. Besides, there was evidence show the good result of the seatbelt law mostly happened in some area like USA and Australia. In other countries which also passed through this law, such as Denmark, it's even brought about the bad result. You can see it on the chart in the other book named Seatbelt Law. Review them. We cannot refuse that the seatbelt law has also bring to occupants more chance to save their life. But even in the new statistic, it's not only only indicate a small change of it, around 5 to 10%. Besides, they refuse the contribution and the use of other stuff like the development of the airport or the car structure. Besides, one reason that seatbelt law legislation should be voluntary is it can cause to the different dangerous. In a monograph of American Association for Automotive Medicine, seatbelt can cause an unacceptable situation and mostly lead to the neck injury. More than 90% of the occupants have the injury about neck, even it's just only a regular accident. 50% occupants in serious and fatal accident have a serious neck injury, which was severe enough to warrant an IAS rating of 1 or higher. Especially happen with the women who have the neck tissue soft and weak. Those pains will last at least a month to 1 year and affect on daily day of driver. Others also give some situation about the other part effect of the seatbelt when the car is rolling out and face down or drop into the lake and river. In those situations, seatbelt decreases the opportunity for driver to escape. Finally, many residents now all want to repeal the primary seatbelt law. This seems like a way for police to ticket the drivers. A driver said to me that I think it's totally unnecessary and it's more of a revenue raiser than a safety issue. Even they have not violated the law, the police still be allowed to catch them. It goes against the function of the legislation, so government can change the seatbelt law from primary to secondary.